A life without limits, without boundaries, is not one that's more loving. It's one that produces resentment, a form of depletion, and a version of yourself that you just have nothing left to give at the end of the day. I have a quick question. Have you ever said yes to something or to someone and just felt a quiet resentment the entire time you were saying yes to that? And today we will be talking about one of the most misunderstood topics in Christian relationships or relationships in general. And that's the idea that love and boundaries can actually go together. That having boundaries is not a selfish thing to do, that saying no can be one of the most loving things that you can do for yourself and in time for the people that you're in that relationship with. Boundaries are not the enemy of love. They are what makes love maintainable, sustainable. Jesus himself, he had limits, and he was the most loving person who ever walked the face of this earth. Having a boundary is a form of honesty, and honesty is a form of love. Hey, loved one, I'm positive you've been finding our conversation and discussions helpful, even transformative, and also encouraging. I'd like you to please take a step further by subscribing to this platform. Help us grow as a community. And also, please hit the like button. That enables the algorithm push this to more people like yourself who would benefit from our conversations and discussions. And if there is anyone who comes to mind when you listen to any of our videos or any of our conversations, please share this link to them. You never know, they just might need that conversation at the point where they're at. You just might be an answer to someone's prayer. And finally, leave a comment. We would like to hear from you. We would like to hear your own story, how love has transformed your journey of faith, or just your perspective to what we're talking about. We want to hear all of this from you. So please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. Thank you. A lot of people in faith communities have quietly picked up the idea that boundaries and love are opposites. That if you really love a person, if you really love someone, you just have to keep giving. You don't say no. You don't protect yourself. You just always have to find a way to keep giving and showing up. And what we will be discussing in this episode will gently but firmly challenge that idea because a life without limits, without boundaries, is not one that's more loving. It's one that produces resentment, a form of depletion, and a version of yourself that you just have nothing left to give at the end of the day. I have a quick question. Have you ever said yes to something or to someone and just felt a quiet resentment the entire time you were saying yes to that? Like you, technically, you agreed, right? That's what was expected. But internally, you were already exhausted before you even started that thing you agreed to. And you just felt guilty for also feeling resentful because you were the one who agreed and said yes. You see that cycle? That's what we're talking about today. Welcome to Through Eyes of Love. Today, we will be talking about one of the most misunderstood topics in Christian relationships or relationships in general. And that's the idea that love and boundaries can actually go together. That having boundaries is not a selfish thing to do, that saying no can be one of the most loving things that you can do for yourself and in time for the people that you're in that relationship with. I would like to share something that I think a lot of us can relate to. Because for a long time, I genuinely believe that loving people always meant being available to them. If someone needed help, I was there. If someone needed my time, I gave it. If someone needed support, I just showed up. I rarely stopped to ask myself whether I actually have the capacity to give, to be in that situation with that person at that time. I just always assumed that saying yes was the loving thing to do. And at first, it used to feel good. It felt like I was being kind, generous, and selfless or wanted. But over time, I started noticing something. While I was constantly showing up for everyone else, I was slowly also neglecting myself. I was pouring from a cup that was already running low and I didn't know. And eventually, what looked like generosity on the outside started to feel like an exhaustion on the inside. And I remember feeling really frustrated and overwhelmed at the time. And then the feeling of guilt came that way because I thought if I'm doing this out of love, why am I starting to feel uneasy and tired and kind of resentful in a way? My cup was not being poured back into. And what I didn't realize at that time was that resentment was trying to tell me something. It was revealing that I was carrying more than I was meant to carry. And somewhere along the way, I'd convinced myself that setting boundaries was selfish and that being available all the time was a proof that I loved these people or this person. And God slowly began to teach me something different by making me understand that saying no does not mean you're less loving. And healthy boundaries aren't a barrier to love. They are often what allow the love to remain genuine, to remain healthy and sustainable. Looking back now, I have so much compassion for the person I used to be, for that version of myself. She was trying her best. She wanted to love people well. And what I had to learn, and it took longer than usual, than I would like to admit, was that boundaries are not the enemy of love. They are what makes love maintainable, sustainable, and that's what I would like us to talk about today. Okay. So here's the thing that I believe changed everything for me about what we're discussing today. A boundary is not a wall. It's not a wall that would keep people out when you have it. No. It's like a fence that defines where you're at so that the people who come through can actually find you. Because without boundaries, you become unavailable in a way that's far more fundamental any than any no can ever make you. You generally cannot give what you do not have at the end of the day. And it's not a complicated thing. If you give more than you have, more time, more energy, more emotional capacity, you eventually have nothing left to give. And the people you were trying to serve and please are not getting the best out of you. They're getting whatever you're able to scrape together. And when you're running low on fumes, that version of yourself, that's what they get after everything else. Boundary is not the opposite of being generous. It's what makes generosity appear real. Be real. You can give freely and gladly and genuinely from a full place, but from an empty one, it always has to cost something that it should not have to cost. Because come to think of it, Jesus himself, he had limits and he was the most loving person who ever walked the face of this earth. I need you to sit with that ideology, with that thought for a second, think about how loving Jesus was, but he still had boundaries. I think it's genuinely surprising for a lot of people that Jesus had boundaries. Because if we look at the gospel, Jesus regularly withdrew from crowds. He went to quiet places. He slept through a storm. He said no to certain requests and he left people and went to pray. He did not heal everybody in every situation, right? The most compassionate human being who ever walked this earth had boundaries. Not because he lacked love, but because he understood that love without rest is not sustainable, even in his humanity when he was on earth. So, if Jesus needed that, if he practiced that, what does that tell us about ourselves as followers of him? Having a boundary is a form of honesty, and honesty is a form of love. When you say no to something or someone that you genuinely cannot or should not do, you're being honest. You're not faking it. You're respecting the other person enough not to show up resentful or empty or half present. And you're also respecting yourself enough to acknowledge that you are finite. A relationship where one person always says yes, regardless of their own state of mind, is not a relationship built on love. It's a performance. I've done it, I know. And performance eventually burns out, it burns you out. Honesty, even the honest knows, like when you say no honestly, that keeps your relationship real. So ask yourself, where in your life are you saying yes when you actually need to say no? And what is that costing you? Just think about it. And the people that you are doing it for, what is it also costing them? Are you fully present? Are you giving? Are you showing up full? The book of Proverbs, chapter 4, says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows out of it. Above all else. Not as one thing on the long list, no, as the thing that everything else depends on. Your capacity to love, to serve, to show up for people that you love and care about. It allows, it all flows from the state of your heart. If you are not guarding it, everything is downstream. Everything just gets affected. And boundary often just is what guarding your heart actually looks like in practice. The book of Mark also tells us that very early in the morning, talking about Jesus here, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. He did this over and over through the Gospels when you go through the Bible. And in the middle of a busy, demanding, and intensive seasons of his ministry here on earth, there were times he withdrew. He protected the thing that made everything else possible. If Jesus could do this, being the Son of God, I think that settles the debate about whether we're allowed to do that. Don't you think so? Each one should carry their own food. I like this portion of the Bible because I think it's found in the book of Galatians, chapter 6, if I'm not mistaken. Not everyone needs someone, not every need someone is presenting to you is a burden. Discernment about what is yours to carry and what is not yours to carry is not selfishness, it's wisdom. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is not to just pick up that burden or pick up that load that's actually theirs to carry. So, in this week, let's take an honest look at where we're at, where we're regularly giving more than we have, more than we should, in your relationships, what the commitments you're in, the roles that you're running dry on, reflect on it. Not to exit out of all of them immediately, just so that you can address what you need to address. And while doing that, let's practice some things. Let's find a situation where we would normally say yes out of obligation and say no, not in a hurtful way, just an honest no. You don't have to over explain yourself. Just you're just not able to do that right now. Be honest with yourself. That itself is a complete sentence. And you notice what happens is the person it might not sit well with them at first, but at the end they would see it. If they are really understanding, they would know that you actually meant well, but we were just not able to at that time. And protect one thing that restores you. See that thing that genuinely fills you up, whether it's resting, prayer, exercise, or just your quiet time. Time with people who do not need anything from you. Just take that time out this week. Put in put it in your journal before anything else takes your space. Rest. Protect that thing that fills you up. And here's what I would love to leave you with. The people who matter most to you do not actually want the resentful, tired, going through the motion version of you. They want you, all of you, the real, present, genuine, available version of you. And that version has boundaries, and those boundaries are worth protecting. They are worth protecting. Okay? Thank you for being here with me today. And if this one gave you something to think of, something that you actually needed to hear, please share it, like, subscribe, and also leave a comment. I want to know what resonates with you. And I'll see you on our next episode. Until next time, let's continue to walk life together through eyes of love.